Welcome to my session on main financial terms. I have covered some 8 financial terms here. There may be many more you may be interested in. Keep watching more and more sessions. We will cover them in the forthcoming sessions, more terms. Let's look at these 8 today. The first one is capital and net worth. Often people feel these are both the terms are same, but they are different. Let's understand the difference. Amount invested by the owner in the business is known as capital. It may be brought in the form of cash or assets by the owner of the business. Capital is an obligation and a claim on the assets of the business. Though the owner has invested, someday or the other, he will require it, but not in the routine course. You don't return money to the owner every day. It will be settled only in the event of closure or transfer of the business. Until then, the capital always remains in the business. Hence, it is not classified as a normal liability, but it is shown as capital on the liabilities side of the balance sheet. Though it is on liabilities side, actually it is a very long-term thing which remains there. Why on liabilities side? Because finally business and the owner are two different entities. You must have seen in the business entity concept. For business, it is always a liability. So capital of often, as I said, you may confuse with net worth. So let's understand this. Owner's equity defines the value of an individual's investment in the business, whereas net worth refers to the overall book value of the company. Thus, net worth can be defined as the net book value of all the assets other than fictitious assets. Fictitious assets, I'll explain, after deducting all liabilities. It can be worked out by two methods. The result obtained by both the methods will be same. The first is the assets method, under which the formula is as below: net fixed assets plus investments plus current assets less long-term liabilities less current liabilities. Liabilities method: share capital, which is equity plus preference if any, plus reserves and surplus, can be general reserve, capital reserve, profit and loss account balance, any type of reserve gets added. Most of the reserves get added rather. When the answer to the above formula, either of the formula is negative, it is called negative net worth, which means a situation in which a person or business has more liabilities than assets and equity. So what I was going to explain to you was fictitious assets means in the past we used to have something like deferred revenue expenditure which is shown as asset and return of every year. Nowadays we don't do that, so don't bother much about understanding that. But we never count fictitious assets. If there are any, we don't count them in net worth. We deduct them. Next term we will cover is capital employed. Now we have covered capital, so you may be wondering what is capital employed. Very important. Capital employed is your total investment in the business. Capital, which you learned in the previous slide, it is only the amount invested by the owner. Capital employed is the total investment which is required for running the business. It should not be confused with the word capital, because capital represents funds contributed by owners, whereas capital employed has a wider meaning. So what does it mean? Capital employed includes funds coming from both the owners and the lenders. That is, it covers both equity and debt. It reflects the total funds put to use, that is employed for running the business. In other words, it is the value of assets that provide the business its ability to earn revenues. More technically, it is the amount of capital utilized for acquisition of profits or assets. So let's compute. Let's see how do we compute capital employed. Again, there are two methods. The first method is using the assets side of the balance sheet. So the formula is as follows: fixed assets. When you say fixed assets, investments, current assets and current liabilities you deduct. Fixed assets include intangible assets like goodwill, patents and trademarks, but excludes fictitious assets at their net values after accounting for depreciation. Current assets include debtors, cash, bank, other receivables, stock, etc. Let's see the second method, which is using the liability side of the balance sheet, where you see share capital, There is equity plus preference shares, reserves surplus, and long-term borrowings. Right? You saw the definition of capital in the previous slide. It didn't have the borrowings portion. Right? It had only the capital portion. So result by both the methods is always the same. Next term is reserves. A part of the profit may be set aside and retained in the business to provide for certain future needs like growth and expansion or to meet future contingencies. So every year you set aside your profits. They're called reserves. Unlike provisions, reserves are appropriation of profits to strengthen the financial position of the business. Reserve is not a charge against profit. It is a part of profit but kept aside. It is, you do not charge it against profit, as it is not meant to cover any liability or expected loss in future. However, retention of profits in the form of reserves reduces the amount of profits available for distribution among the owners. How do you distribute amongst owners? As dividend. So that to that extent you cannot give dividend. But certain reserves are kept earmarked for dividends as per the company law. Anyways, let's understand the various types of reserves that appear on the balance liability side of the balance sheet. They are shown after capital. Some examples are general reserve, workmen compensation fund, investment fluctuation fund, capital reserve, dividend equalization reserve, reserve for redemption of debentures, and so on. There may be many more. Next one is inflation. What is inflation? You must have heard it very often. Generically, you say that जब भाव बढ़ जाता है, there is inflation. Price is increasing. So there's a sustained increase in the overall price level of goods and services within an economy over a period, over a certain period. As a consequence, purchasing power of money decreases, which means money loses some of its value. What you could buy in 10 lakh rupees 10 years ago, today you cannot buy the same thing, same goods or same property. Three main types of inflation are demand pull inflation. It occurs when the overall demand for goods and services increases faster than the production capacity of the economy, leading to a demand supply gap. That is a shortage. Demand is more, supply is less, thus resulting in an increase in price. The second one is cost push inflation. It occurs as a result of, as the name suggests, an increase in the cost of production. That is when the prices of inputs, say raw material, labor, increase, the production of goods or services becomes more expensive and producers need a higher price to be profitable. If the cost is more, obviously the producers will charge from the customers. Last one is a built-in inflation. It does not occur on its own. It always needs catalyst or a trigger to kick it off. Based on expectation. Expectation means in expectation of a higher price or higher demand, workers will start demanding more wages. Their expectations grow. So as a result, higher wages are paid. So cost of living also increases. And higher wages result in higher cost of production, which leads to higher prices. And the spiral begins. It's a circle. More price, more cost, more wage, again more cost. Because of this circular dependency, this inflation is also sometimes called as a wage price spiral. So these expectations, as I told you, originate from persistent demand pull or cost push. People may feel that demand is going to increase or cost is going to increase, so the wages automatically demanded by workers are more. Liquidity is the next one. Liquidity refers to how easily assets can be converted into cash. That is, how much money you have in hand. Assets like stocks, bonds are very liquid since they can be converted to cash within days. However, large assets such as property, plant, and equipment may not be easily convertible to cash. A very high liquidity ratio indicates that a business is holding too much cash that could be utilized in other areas. A low liquidity ratio means a firm may struggle to pay short-term obligations. Three main ratios to measure liquidity are how good liquidity a business has. You will get to know by these three ratios. Current ratio is current assets divided by current liabilities. Second one is asset test ratio, also known as quick ratio, that is cash plus accounts receivables, that is your customers receivables, and marketable securities total up divided by current liabilities. Cash ratio is cash and cash equivalents divided by the current liabilities. The most important of all three is the cash ratio, which is most stringent and conservative of all the three, as it looks at the company's liquid short-term assets, that is cash and cash equivalents only, which can be most easily used to pay off the current obligations. Because while you receive money from customers, it may take a few days, 8 days, 15 days, or a month, but cash is cash. Hard cash in hand is the most important form of liquidity available to a company. Working capital, very important term. If those businesses which cannot plan their working capital well usually fail in their operations. So in order to maintain flow of revenue from operation, every business needs certain amount of current assets. For example, cash is required either to pay for expenses in advance so that raw material can be purchased, or to meet obligation for service received, etc. by a business. Similarly, accounts receivable generate when goods are sold on credit. Thus, cash, bank, debtors, bills receivable, unsold stock, there is your inventory in hand, prepayments, etc. represent current assets of a business. You would have seen in my account session what are current assets. The whole of these current assets form the working capital of a business, which is termed as gross working capital. There is another concept which is mostly widely used, that is net working capital, which is more realistic. So what is net working capital? It is the excess of current assets over current liabilities, that is current assets minus current liabilities. What is current liabilities, current assets in detail? You can refer to my session on main accounting terms. Leverage is a very important term. The dictionary meaning of the word leverage is to use something to maximum advantage. It is thus a general term for any technique to multiply gains and losses. The power of leverage gives rewards beyond the amount of work or energy you put into a task. So that is a generic definition, the English definition of leverage. Today we are seeing finance, so let's see in financial terms. Leverage is any technique that amplifies, magnifies, multiplies investor profits or losses. It is most commonly used to describe the use of borrowed money to magnify profit potential. And it's called financial leverage, when you use borrowed money to magnify profits. But it can also describe the use of fixed assets or fixed costs to achieve the same goal. In that case, it's called operating leverage. Any leverage has accompanied risks because it requires commitment to pay the principal and interest on your borrowed money, on debt, in case of financial leverage. And in case of operating leverage, it has a commitment to pay your fixed costs. So therefore, leverage comes with risk. It works in your favor in good times, it works against you in bad times. It works in both directions. For a detailed analysis and understanding of leverage with practical examples, please see my session, a video session on leverage, very important one with more practical knowledge. Cannot cover it now due to constraint of time. The last one is solvency, insolvency. In generic terms, positive net worth situation is referred to as solvency. When your assets are more than liabilities, it is solvency. Whereas negative net worth situation is called insolvency. Specific explanation let's get into. Solvency means a situation in which a person or a business is able to pay its obligations when they become due and is able to continue its operations. Short-term solvency is often measured by the current ratio, also called liquidity ratio. You have seen them above, which is calculated by dividing current assets by current liabilities. The ratio of 1:1 or more is an ideal measure of short-term solvency. Long-term solvency is evaluated using the solvency ratios, one of the most popular being debt equity ratio, being total outside liabilities divided by the total equity plus reserves, that is net worth. So outside liabilities divided by net worth will be your long-term solvency ratio, also called gearing ratio. Ratio of 2:1 or less means within boundary of long-term solvency. Please see my session on leverage to understand this debt equity ratio. As a converse, insolvency means a situation in which a person or a business is unable to pay its obligations when they become due and unable to have enough funds to continue its operations. Hope this session has been useful, whatever I could cover in a short period. Thanking you for a patient listening. Goodbye.